Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us this evening. The head of the Special Investigating Unit alleges that Eskom employees collude to fleece the struggling power utility. Advocate Andy Mothibi and his team of investigators were briefing the Public Accounts Committee, SCOPA, on Wednesday. Mothibi says the SIU traced the modus operandi used by employees to swindle the parastatal out of millions of rands. To unpack this further, we're joined by SIU spokesperson Kaizer Kganyago this evening. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. The State Capture Commission already lifted the lid on the extent of corruption at Eskom. The SIU has since dug even deeper, uncovering even more shocking revelations. What did you find?
Thank you very much, Mpo, and thank you to your viewers. What we have found at Eskom is that there is organized groups of people who were fleecing the Eskom out of the money using systems in three areas in the main. In the area of built material, in the area of buying of coal, and in the area of diesel. In the coal sector, we found that they deliberately made sure that Eskom buys low quality kind of coal, and what they did was to, when the testing was to happen, they would take coal from a mine that they are not delivering from. They would take a coal from another mine and present it as if it's from Braakfontein, and then it then ticks the box, and then later on when they've got to deliver, they deliver from Braakfontein, which is having a low quality coal. That is one of the systems. The other part that they did very well was the issue of transportation. They would use companies that are linked to themselves as employees to transport material to, or coal in this particular instance, to Eskom, to make sure that they benefit out of it, whereby, for an example, they would buy coal from mines that are very far from the power station, make sure that the mines are increasing the price of the coal. They get into contracts with the mines themselves to transport down the coal, and that kind of expenditure is not visible to Eskom.
Now, technical experts have long voiced the concerns around the quality of coal, and this in itself is not something new. How did you then make the links?
We were looking at different contracts as per our proclamation, because remember we've got two proclamations, the one in 2018 and the one in 2020. Therefore, we were following what was going on, and then we looked at individuals who were involved. For an example, there is a case where we were dealing with the issue of Mazibuko. I think everybody knows, who was a logistic manager there. And then we followed the money, and we found that he benefited out of the coal operations that he was working with. And out of that, we were able to then see the money flowing into the bank account as kickbacks. And when we went to his bank account, we found 11 million in the bank account, which we managed to freeze. And therefore, we are following up. But with the others, we were also looking at the modus operandi of how they were doing things. And we realized that the way they're doing things is not right. For an example, they would then, in their presentation, write that we are going to build this power station next to a mine, so that we can have conveyor belts that are going to take the coal from the mine directly into the power station. When you arrive there, there is no mine next to there, and we find that there are 700 trucks that go into that mine to deliver coal every day. And that has got an effect not only to Eskom, but also to the road infrastructure that goes into that mine, because those trucks will damage that road infrastructure.
So when it comes to arrests, how are you faring as this probe has uncovered so much?
Obviously, you'd know that we are not involved with arrests, but we are working together with the NPA. And what I can indicate is to summarize what we found vis-a-vis what was referred. The first part that we looked at was the issue of conflict of interest, where we found that there are employees of Eskom who were doing business with Eskom. And in that regard, we have sent 135 of them to Eskom, for disciplinary hearing, and they are doing very, very well in dealing with that. And 14 of those were now taken to the NPA for prosecution. The process is underway. And when it comes to declaration of interest, there were 5,452 officials who did not declare. They are being disciplined. When it comes to coal procurement and transportation, there's one person we have sent for disciplinary and 15 companies and individuals that were sent to the NPA. And in that regard, we from our side, we have set aside a contract of 3.7 billion already, and we have saved 2.6 billion of future expenditure that would have been paid. And in terms of build projects, there are 14 people who are sent for disciplinary. 73 individuals and companies have been sent to the NPA for prosecution, and we have instituted on our side the matter and the special tribunal of amounting to about 105 million, and we have preserved in that instance pension of about 24 million. Therefore, there is a lot that is happening. And lastly, is the issue of SEP, where 6 individuals and companies have been referred to the NPA, and those matters are in the process of being dealt with.
So, looking at adjustments, perhaps to policies and procedures, what do you find in terms of Eskom mitigating the risk? How can this happen so that it doesn't continue to be, a cycle that just doesn't end?
Yes, what we do when we do investigation, we do what we call systemic recommendations. And we've given those recommendations in our presentation to Parliament, but we've also given it to the board, because luckily the board was appearing with us at the same time, and they were there to listen. And therefore we've got a few of the recommendations where we say they must close up the systems. They must make sure, for example, they develop a system to red flag transactions that are high risk, so that they are able to follow and be able to follow up people who are high risk. Do in some instances survey the people that work there if they've got sort of unexplained riches that are there, but also put in system. For example, we are saying make sure that when these trucks come in, the coal is tested at that point, because when you test it at the where they are being picked up, and then they then transport the wrong one because they tamper with the tracker system, go to another mine, collect the coal that is of low quality, which will generate less electricity, while you have paid for the one that is more. Therefore, test it at site, even though it's going to be a very difficult one, bearing in mind that if you have got a mine that has got 700 trucks coming in a day, it's going to be rather difficult, but you've got to do that to make sure that they know that you are testing all of this at not at the source, but at the end where it is delivered.
Sure. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Thanking you for your time, Kaizer Kganyago, speaking for the Special Investigating Unit. Of course, amongst the shocking revelations uncovered at Eskom, we, of course, are still in the middle of load shedding. Some of the reasons why the situation is exacerbated even further.